Chapter 7 Annie's POV jarred. Are you going to eat that? I asked with my mouth full while pointing to his salad. I gulped down my food when Jard looked at me oddly. Gosh, I am so hungry. Last week, you could barely finish a sandwich and now you're practically licking your plate clean. Jard stated the obvious. I took his salad and shoved it down my throat. He wouldn't eat it anyway. He said that he had enough of vegetables at home. I shrugged. I've been eating much more than I do lately. It's probably because Mr. Devil found it funny to make me starve throughout the day, so I haven't gotten much to eat these past 3 weeks. If you're still wondering, Mr. Devil is the one and only Mr. Weston Marshall. You're probably wondering why I haven't eaten much at home. Well, it's because Aunt Felly came down with the flu and I had to eat frozen tea. The dinner. Speaking of the devil himself, where is he? I shrugged again, taking a big gulp of my water. I don't know it, but I miss him already. I said sarcastically. Jard and I started laughing. The chair next to mine made a scraping noise as it was pulled back. I knew someone was sitting next to me. I couldn't contain my curiosity any longer, so I turned my head to look at the person. I was in shock and then my expression quickly turned into horror. You miss Weston. You'll make sure to tell him that. Warren joked and smiled at me. Warren, what are you doing here? I hissed. Well, hello to you two. Warren? What the fuck? Do you want things to get worse? Jard asked. I don't know about you, but I don't like seeing her get hurt. She's practically my sister. Relax. Hunter. Weston's busy right now. He won't be here anytime soon, Warren said. I sighed in relief. Plus, fuck what Wes said. He can't tell me who I talk to and who interested in. You're interested in me, I squeaked. I felt the blood rushing to my cheeks. Oh, so his pickup lines work but mine don't. What is wrong with you, woman? Jard exclaimed. I nudged him in the gut. Ouch. Okay. I'll leave you two alone. Jeez. Warren chuckled. So anyways, I was wondering, maybe you'd like to go to a party with me Saturday. She's not going, a familiar voice said from behind me. His deep voice sent shivers down my spine. I hate that happened all the time. Plus, it seemed uncontrollable. Every time he was around, I found myself doing things involuntarily. I hated it. I whipped around and glared at Weston. This week, he had Jennifer. Rumor has it that she got breast implants. Well, it was kind of obvious. Her big, fake breasts were suffocating under that red tight shirt. Her shorts were so short. I had underwear longer than that. I stared at her in disgust as leaned against Weston. Her black hair was a mess. Sex hair, I thought. I looked away quickly. That's why he was so busy. Baby, it's boring here. Let's finish what we started earlier. Jennifer whined. Her voice was husky and she fluttered her eyelashes. I rolled my eyes at her ridiculously. Yeah. Wes, go back to your entertainment. It's more fun than being here anyways, I said quickly, waving him off. I turned back to Warren and smiled sweetly. I would love to go. What time? Danny, you aren't going to go, Weston said, a low growl erupting from his chest. I gritted my teeth. When the hell did my dating life become his #1 priority? He'll pick you up around 7, Warren said, ignoring Weston. Perfect. I smiled. She's not going. Who are you to tell her where she goes and where she doesn't go? Jard growled back. Just leave her alone already. She's not going. Weston growled back again. Oh, I'm so going. So where is this party at? I asked cheerfully. At Sean's house. You know Sean, right? Warren asked. The baseball player. Bingo. Nice. I heard his parties are awesome. Danny, you aren't going. Weston growled louder this time. I simply rolled my eyes at him. Are you going? I asked Jard, ignoring the fuming Weston behind us. Yeah. Jard blushed. With Jade. Oh, that's awesome. I leaned in to whisper in his ear. I looked as he bit his lip. I noticed that he did that often when he was nervous to admit something. Do you like her? A lot, he replied. I smiled. That was so cute. Plus, they would make such a great couple. I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but you're not going to bail on me, right? War said and blushed. Not at all. Oh, come on, War. You don't want to go out with a pathetic girl like her. Weston spat. I whipped around and glared at him. Wes, the only one who's pathetic here is you. War growled. Weston laughed bitterly. A mischievous expression made its way to his face. Oh, you think I'm pathetic? War, you should really hear her story. Bro, let me tell you. It's hilarious. Why don't you tell him your story, Danny? Why don't you tell everyone your story? He raised his voice so everyone in the cafeteria could hear. Everyone was dead silent and everyone just looked at us. Even the lunch ladies and lunch assistants watched us. I eyed him curiously. What the hell was he talking about? Oh, come on, Day. Don't pretend you don't know. Stop hiding your past. So, how are your dad and your boyfriend? Oh, don't forget your lovely, trustworthy best friend. How's she keeping up? I froze. The whole world seemed to pause at the moment. Then 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐼. It was put in rewind. All the painful memories caused my heart to ache and burn. To be honest, I missed my father. I still loved Chasen even if it hurts me to admit it. I missed him terribly, not to mention my best friend. Even if Folly hurt me, the longing for our fun moments and traditions always came back. I didn't realize I dropped the apple I was eating until Jard picked it up. My breathing became deep and the tears threatened to spill out of my eyes any moment now. Wes, leave her the fuck alone, Jard began to say. Oh, shut up, Jard. You may want to hear this about your best friend too. Weston snapped, emphasizing the word best friend. Then, he started to laugh. It was sarcastic and fake. It was too long before Jennifer's girly laugh joined in with his. I suddenly wanted to crawl in a hole and die. I wanted to rot and die. Look at her. She can't even stand up for herself. All she could do is sit and cry. Just so pathetic. Maybe that's why your father chose his hot, dang able wife over you. Danny, he spat. Maybe that's also why your loving boyfriend and amazing best friend decided to sleep around behind your back. Heard that, everyone? Isn't she pathetic? Everyone stayed quiet. Shock suppressed all their faces. I just sat there looking at the wall at the far end of the cafeteria. For a moment, just for a moment, I felt embarrassed, ashamed of my own life, and most of all I felt pathetic. Weston's words sank in, but it was quickly washed away when I heard my brother's voice in my head. You are strong. Dar'N reminded me. Jard stood up and walked to Weston. Jard glared at him and didn't stop nearing him until he was face to face with Weston. Didn't I tell you to leave her the fuck alone? I saw Jard's eyes turn from its normal color to yellow and back again. I heard you loud and clear. Hunter. And what you going to do about it? West unchallenged. That's when I stood up. I felt the anger surge through my body. I turned to face Jard. Jard, please calm down, I said. But he just gave me a quick glance and continued to glare at Weston. No, Danny. I don't like how he treated you, he simply stated. I grabbed Jard's arm and looked him in the eye seriously. I felt a surge of strength inside of me. Jard, please calm down. He closed his eyes and I saw his body relax. He opened his eyes again and it was back to normal. He just nodded regretfully and sat down. I turned around and faced Weston. He had this amused look on his face, but it was quickly wiped away when he looked into my eyes. I stared at him, not adoringly but hatefully. I glared at him until I couldn't take it anymore. I punched him in the face. His head whipped to the left from the impact. He looked at me in shock, before he touched his bloody lip. I smiled mentally when I realized I just punched him in the kisser. All that boxing lesson at the gym paid off. I clapped loudly and laughed bitterly. Wow, Weston, you managed to make my life a living hell this whole 3 weeks. Everything you did was such an entertainment. But this, I said sarcastically. I waved my hand around us for emphasis. This tops the list. Congratulations. Now for your prize. Oh, the prizes. What would you want? Probably to egg my car again or starve me to death like a real man does. I continued and laughed bitterly again. Oh wait. I forgot. You aren't even a real man. Real men don't do that stuff. Weston flinched when he saw the tears start to drip from my eyes. His own deep blue eyes were darkened, and he looked pained. I rolled my eyes at him. You want to know something? Weston, you all want to know something. Maybe it would make me more pathetic. But what the hell does it matter? After all, you all seem to be so interested in my life. I waved at all the people who has laughed at me when Weston used to tease me. Even if it hurts me to admit it. I miss them. I guess you are right. Weston, I am pathetic. You are such a psychic. Danny. I didn't mean, Weston began to say. It just made me angrier. Shut up, Weston. You meant everything. I screamed in his face and he flinched one again. Just shut the fuck up and don't talk to me. Just leave me the fuck alone. I hate you, I said, my voice cracking at the end. I started to walk towards the exit of the cafeteria. Every onus eyes were on me, but I ignored them all. Someone grabbed my arm and tingles erupted from our physical contact. I glared at Weston in disgust again. Didn't I tell you to fucking leave me alone? What more do you want from me? Aren't you satisfied? I laughed again, bitterly. Oh wait, Mr. Marshall always has to win a fight. So smack me, hit me, kick me, do whatever you want. Make my life much more pathetic. His grip tightened around my arm. I wouldn't do that to you. Danny, you don't really hate me, do you? He sounded so vulnerable and his eyes pleaded with me to say no. However, I was strong. Daniela Saunders might be pathetic, but I was not weak. I rolled my eyes at him. Fuck you, Weston. I hate you, I clearly stated. He flinched and let go of my arm. He looked broken and his eyes were glazed with unshed tears. I started walking away again, shaking my head in disbelief. I hated his ignorance, ego, and personality. I hated his teasing, his practical jokes, and all the crap he has done to me. I hated his smirk, his cockiness, and everything irritating about him. But you want to know the funny thing? I don't hate him at all. Not one bit. There was this connection I seemed to have with him, and I hated myself for thinking that. Danny? I'm sorry, Weston called out to me. His voice was soft and apologizing. However, I just continued to walk away from him. The tears dripped down my face and onto my shirt. I scoffed. I'm tired of hearing the same 2 words. I said, love. It's a 4-letter word. 2 vowels. 2 consonants. 1 syllable. Hate. It's a 4-letter word. 2 vowels. 2 consonants. 1 syllable. However, they are both 2 of the many strongest words a person can say. I was sitting on the window pane of my room, staring at the dark and dreary forest again. Somehow, it felt so comforting to me right now. It was 2 hours after the whole lunch scenario and I decided to cut school. My eyes were red and puffy and I was still crying. You're probably wondering why. Well, as a witch, well. After arguing with myself, I couldn't hide my feelings anymore. I hated Weston. However, I felt like fate made me fall in love with some jerk. I hated and loved him at the same time. Does that make sense? Gosh, I really am pathetic. I cried again, quickly wiping the tears from my face. I thought I told you that you were strong, little sis, a familiar and deep voice said from behind me. I whipped around. The person who was so close to me, but yet so far away, was now standing in my room. He hasn't changed a bit. His hazel eyes twinkled in the dark room. His brown hair was swept to the side. His smile made one dimple appear on his face. Gosh, he looked so much like my mom. He was still gorgeous and well-built. I stared at him in shock. "Doran," I whispered. "Moo-oh-witch-woo. Her sexy brother is back. What do you guys think is going to happen next?" Hope you enjoyed. Chapter 8, Weston's POV. "I hate you." Those words rang in my head clearly. It replayed, haunting and torturing me. Danny's voice threatened me. Her words burned a hole. Every tear she shed made me flinch. She glared at me as if she wanted me dead. I felt the hurt radiating off of her, and my wolf growled at me for doing such a thing, as those same 3 words repeated over and over in my head. I stood stock still. My hands were in tight fist. However, I wasn't angry at anyone. I was angry at myself. The cafeteria was dead silent. Every honest eyes glued on me. Danny had just left in with her presence gone. I felt cold. A moment ago, I got what I wanted. I wanted her to look at me with hatred. Now I regretted it. All I wanted from her was to have my arms around her, to protect her, to have her eyes gleam at me with adoration. I wanted her lips to be pressed against mine, her smile to brighten up my day, her beautiful laugh to send my heart into overdrive. But I lost that all because my ego took the best of me. I regretted what I did, yes. I will not deny the mistake I have just made. She had every right to be angry with me. She was the one who was pathetic. I was. There was no one to blame but myself. I had one thing in common with Danny. I hated myself too. The silence was broken with the sound of footsteps erupting from behind me. "Oh baby, you're so sexy when you're angry." Jessica, or was it Janet, purred in my ear. I shivered in disgust. I wanted no one but Danny. Janet must have thought her words brought me pleasure because she ran her hands up my leg and inched her fingers closer to my crotch. I flinched and smacked her hand away. "Janet, we're over," I said. She sniffled and the waterworks started. I rolled my eyes at her vulnerability. After about 5 minutes of bawling her eyes out, she slapped my face, but it didn't faze me. Danny's punch still overwhelmed me. "It's Jennifer, you bastard." With that, she stalked off. The stone pack surrounded me and I straightened my posture. I couldn't be seen as weak, especially to them. They all looked at me in disgust, but I just stared at them casually. "My Marshall," Jard spoke up. "Quite the heartbeaker." I remained silent. "You're lucky we have a truce. Otherwise, you'd score a black eye and a few broken bones." "Forget the truce." Abigail spat and strutted toward me. However, Charles held her back and she wriggled to get free. Her eyes were full of hatred. "Charles, let me go. This bastard deserves none of our respect." "ABS, calm down. One day, he will pay the price. He does not deserve our respect, but his father does," Jard said, still glaring at me. "Fair warning, Marshall." I watched them retreat. I didn't care what they had to say. The only thing that mattered to me was Danny, but I lost her and it was my entire fault. Danny's POV. "Darn," I repeated louder this time. I jumped up from my seat and practically tackled him to the ground. "It's really you. Am I dreaming?" My brother chuckled and pinched my arm. "Ouch. What the hell?" I glared at him. "You asked if you were dreaming. You know the phrase, pinch me if I'm dreaming." I rolled my eyes and punched his chest. Playfully, "What are you doing here?" "I can't come and visit my little sister," he asked, feigning hurt. "I haven't seen you in 2 years." "Darn? Seriously? Why are you here?" "One, our bastard father dumped you and I came to check up on you. Seems like it was a good thing for me to come." His smile stretched and the dimple on his right cheek deepened. 2, I'm getting married. My smile reached from ear and I jumped in excitement. "You're kidding me." Ever since he was 15, HES been searching for the one. He was doubtful though. My parents' divorce starred him. "𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐬. Come in, come in," he called out. A pretty blonde came into the room. She had fudge brown eyes and her smile was friendly. Darren put his arm around her affectionately and he smiled down at her. Daniela, this is my Aunt Kelly. Kelly? Daniela. Hi, just call me Danny. I shook her hand. It's nice to meet you. Pleasure is all mine, she said. So, when's the date? Where is it? I'm free to help if anything. November 23. Here, in 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬 Hotel. Darren announced proudly. Oh, I'm so happy for you two. I squealed in excitement. But that's in 2 months. How's everything going to work in just 2 months? We got it down, little sis. When have I failed? I rolled my eyes. Yes, still the same cocky guy I knew. Let me think. When you tried to sneak out that one time. Oh, what about that time when you tried to put 𝐊𝐲𝐬 and Mrs. Dawn as lunch pail? Oh, and that time, okay. You prove your point, he said annoyed. Kelly simply laughed at him. I'm going to marry a failure, she joked. I smiled at her. I liked her already. Baby, isn't that what you love about me? Dawn turned to look at me. Anyways, 𝐾𝐿s and I are taking you out. Be ready in 30. After shopping in 300 different stores, trying on thousands of shoes, putting on multiple outfits, cutting my hair, getting my eyebrows waxed, and getting to know Kelly, I was exhausted. I needed time for myself. Not to mention, I was kind of getting grossed out watching Darren and Kelly making kissy faces with each other. Sure, I was happy for them, but I was grossed out in so many levels. I looked up at the sky and it was dark out. The stars sprinkled across the black sky and the lamppost lit up the crowded streets. I loved Mall Street. It was one place me and my mother always used to go when I was feeling down. Okay, so what movie do you ladies want to watch? Darren asked. His arm was slung over Kelly's shoulder. He bent down and kissed her cheek. The image of them making out during the entire movie danced in my head. Actually, you two should just go on without me. I think you need some alone time with each other, I offered eagerly. Darren eyed me suspiciously. But we took you out and it's all about you tonight. You're right. Making kissy faces with each other was for me. How lovely. No. Believe me, I'm having fun and I really appreciate all you to have done for me tonight. I have to stop by the bookstore for my essays due next week. I lied. Darren looked at me for a while. His eyes narrowed, clearly trying to see if I was lying. After a while, he shook his head and gave up. Okay then. But meet us at the 𝐊𝐲𝐬 is an hour. 𝐾𝐿s and I are going to stop by one last store. I won't be long. I smiled. We finally parted ways and I blew out a breath of relief. I walked down Mall Street, heading for the bookstore. Its part of Mall Street was empty. No one really hung out in the education department. However, I found it calming. It just had a peaceful atmosphere. There were not a lot of people and it was silent. I closed my eyes, relishing the feel of the night air against my skin. The dim yellow lighting of the small bookstore spilled out onto the street. I started to walk towards it. However, I froze in my tracks when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned slowly and no one was there. Something was off. My stomach twisted and turned in nervousness. Sweat covered my palms. I continued walking quickly. However, I walked fast enough. Someone grabbed my arm from inside the alley. His hand gripped my arm so tight. I was sure I would have bruises before I could suppress a scream for help. The stranger put his hand over my mouth. I couldn't see his features, but I was sure it was a man. He was hidden in the dark shadows. I felt the tears spill out of my eyes and I shook in terror. He laughed at me for being a coward. However, there was no note of humor in it. It was one of those kinds where it was dry and bitter. He let go of my mouth and I screamed. Shut up. He smacked me. He had a light Russian accent. My cheeks stung and I felt hot tears roll down my cheek faster. No one can you hear you. Why, you want him, money. Do just take my purse, I said with my heart stuck in my throat. No, girl. I don't need any money. You'll get plenty of that after I'm done with you. Why, you're going to rape me? Something cold pressed against my neck. I froze, recognizing the threat of steel. I squeezed my eyes shut and my blood ran cold. I was going to die, even if you are a pretty girl. The man trailed his fingers in between my breast. I shivered in disgust. That is not what I was required to do. Now, hold still. Cutting you piece to piece will only take a second. He chuckled again. I did the one thing my brother always told me to do. I kicked his crotch. He groaned and grabbed it as a reflex. I started running away, but he was too quick. He tackled me to the ground and my head made an ugly crunching noise. He was on top of me now. I was trapped. I wriggled under him and grunted. Get off of me. I had enough of you. Time's up. The man said, and I saw him for the first time under the moonlight. He had dark, long hair that was gathered up in a ponytail. He was probably in his mid-20s. Get off me, I screamed. You heard her. A familiar voice called from the entrance of the alleyway. Weston. West, always the hero, I might say. The man looked up from me to him. What the hell was Weston doing here? 𝐊𝐤. Didn't you the girl? Or perhaps you're deaf. 𝐊𝐤 chuckled. He then turned his eyes back to me. He grabbed the knife and pressed it to my throat. I flinched as the cold blade pricked my skin once more. I screamed, but it came out hoarse and shallow. Can't do. It'll be more than a rich man after I'm done with her. I looked at Weston once more. My eyes filled with tears and I pleaded with him to save me. Weston growled, and the next thing I knew, his clothed raper took over his skin. Chapter 9. I stared at the beast in horror as it jumped over me skillfully, sending 𝐊𝐤 and itself crashing to the ground. 𝐊𝐤 grunted, probably from the impact of the tackle. The beast had its paws pinned on 𝐊𝐤's shoulders. However, 𝐊𝐤 just chuckled. Meanwhile, I was freaking out. I think I'm dreaming. I contemplated that thought for a while. Yep, I was definitely dreaming. In a matter of seconds, I will wake up and go to school like every normal teenage girl in the planet. The beast looked over at me, its deep blue eyes twinkling in amusement. How could he find a situation like this funny? This beast looked so awfully familiar. I stared at it with wide eyes as the realization dawned on me. It was the beast that attacked me about a month ago. 1. You aren't dreaming. Danny. 2. I think you should calm down because you look like a stick went up your ass. A familiar deep voice filled my head. Weston's voice. Great, great. Now I was just going plain crazy. You are crazy. Just calm down. I will explain everything later. The beast's eyes turned into a dark black. It was eye-catching, even in the dim lighting that was provided to us in this alley. I was still laying on the ground, propped up on my right elbow, trying to make sense of what was going on. My gaze was fixed on those two black eyes. Just calm down, Weston repeated. All of a sudden, a warm sensation engulfed me. It felt like a warm, thick blanket being placed on me during a cold winter's night. 𝐊𝐤 chuckled, waking me up from my reverie. However, I remained calm. I was still under the beast Weston's spell. This is not a fair brawl, 𝐊𝐤 said. I am in lockdown, due to numerous tasks people inquire me to do for them. I am well aware that you know of the rule the experts have passed among us. You don't want to disappoint your father, do you? They looked at each other for a short period. All that is accurate. You could execute me for threatening to kill the young female. However, perhaps you may want to find out who wants her terminated. 𝐊𝐤 chuckled. Another short moment passed between them. It occurred to me that Weston was speaking to him telepathically. Well, make a deal. Return into your human form and well deal with this like real men do. Weston slowly retreated from 𝐊𝐤. His eyes never left the man. Even as he stood up, Weston shook out his fur, almost like a dog did. Suddenly, his fur receded into his body and smooth, golden, toned skin stood out. Who is it? Weston demanded through clenched teeth. You are so much like your father. Impatient. Rude. And demanding. 𝐊𝐤 sighed. He got that right. And Weston thought I looked like I had a stick up my butt. He looks like he has one stuck up his ass every day, I thought, while rolling my eyes. I heard that cupcake. Weston snapped. Anyways, I have no time for this. I'm disappointed though. I could have been a rich man. 𝐊𝐤 clucked his tongue and shook his head disbelieving lie. It goes by the name of Silver Bullet. What kind of information is that? Weston's voice increased, bouncing off the walls in the alley. Was it a woman? A man? What did they look like? I would like to know myself. However, we handled this business over email. I must warn you, they offered a whole lot of cash. They are really determined to exterminate her before the police arrive. Boy, I think we should all clear out. Though, I wonder why you are concerned over a human being. But that is none of my business. 𝐊𝐤 walked away from the alley. His footsteps echoed. I curled up into a ball and started swaying back and forth. Oh my gosh, I'm really going crazy. Any moment now, they'll wake up from this horrible nightmare. I whispered to myself. Weston came into my line of vision and squatted down beside me. I glanced at his body and he was still naked. I blushed ferociously and looked away quickly. Oh, sorry, he murmured. I stuck my hand into one of my shopping bags and looked for one of the jeans Darren bought for himself. I threw it at Weston and he changed. I looked up at him and he just smirked. He wasn't wearing any shirt and I was ogling his six-pack. Oh gosh, why does he have to be so sexy? I heard that. Cupcake, Weston said, smirking. 𝐊𝐤, come with me. It's not safe to talk here, he said sincerely, holding out his hand, but I never took it. He sighed. Trust me, just this one time. For some odd reason, I did. I got up and dusted my jeans off and followed him into the woods that were at the back of Mall Street. I would have been scared to walk into the depths of the trees, but being with Weston made me feel safe. It was completely and utterly dark once we stepped into the eerie woods. A gust of wind passed and brought the smell of fresh dirt and trees. Weston walked in front of me. How could he see this dark at night was beyond me. I could literally see nothing in here. The trees block any light the moon offered from entering in. I heard a strange noise and I jumped. My initial reflex was to grab onto Weston's hand. He chuckled and wrapped his fingers around mine. It wasn't an electrical shock. It was a warm sensation. It made me crave for more. Actually, I couldn't shake the thought of how perfect my hand fittin' is. As clutch as this may sound, it was as if we were made for each other. I smacked myself mentally. I was with stupid, idiotic, 𝐊𝐤 𝐷𝐞𝐝𝐤, cupcake. Weston's deep voice said in the darkness. It had a hint of humor in it. No. I just can't see. I stuttered. Right, but he said sarcastically. We walked in silence. It was just the two of us holding hands and he was probably smirking. Egocentric brat. We're here, Weston whispered as he tugged me into a clearing. There were several logs on the side. Despite the darkness of the woods, this was the only place that had some light source. The moon cast a dim light onto the clearing and the grass glistened with dew. Some flowers and wild plants were scattered here. It was absolutely gorgeous here. I quickly dropped Weston's hand. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw Weston stiffen. No, I was probably hallucinating again. It's beautiful here, I said. Yeah, the pack and I like to come here when we go hunting. I looked at him, obviously confused. Weston didn't answer, leaning on a tree and crossing his arms. He looked at me. What do you want to know first? What I said, trying to find the right words. What exactly are you? A werewolf, he simply said and shrugged. 𝐊𝐤, when the moon was first created by what we call healers. A friend of theirs betrayed him, or that's what that legends have said. Weston cleared his throat. We call him 𝐷𝐤. He was an Indian man who has stolen the healer's necklace to heal his ill wife. Something that none of us has found in 1,000,000 years. By punishing him, 𝐾𝐞𝐬 was made to be a werewolf, something they considered evil and dark back then. Being a werewolf, he couldn't go home at night when the full moon was out. He had a pregnant wife, and because of his punishment, he couldn't see the birth of his first son, and he was constant hunters. Many people were frightened by him and wanted him dead. Even his wife, the woman he dedicated his life to. The healers even killed his own son, fearing that he was made from dark magic. 𝐾𝐞𝐬 was angered by this. Therefore, he figured that mating with many women will make him grow a pack. He wanted revenge on the healers. Eventually, after 15 years, he made a strong pack, killing all the healers there were. Weston finished. I was in complete shock. I stayed quiet for a moment. It took some time for my brain to register this. I wouldn't have believed this if it weren't for the beast I saw a couple of minutes ago. So there's absolutely no healers alive today. I found my voice. Legend said one was hidden, knowing what the werewolves were up to. I doubt that though. Up to this day, all of us werewolves despise them. Weston spat. What do healers do? They are werewolves, just like us, but not made by dark magic. They were made by God themselves to protect the earth. Because of that, we have no choice but to bow down to them. They have the power to heal, to do light or dark magic. Wow, I nodded. Is this some type of Twilight thing? Do vampires exist too? Sorry to break it to you, sweetheart, but your dreams of becoming a Bella is terminated. Vampires don't exist. I quickly shook that off. So when you shift, does it hurt? The first time you shift into a werewolf, which is about when you're E5 or 6. Back at the alley. How did you know that guy? 𝐶𝐬 is a werewolf too. 𝐻ES called an assassin. 𝐻ES paid to kill people. I shivered at the thought of having him almost kill me. However, I quickly shook them away, focusing on the questions I wanted to ask. He said something about lockdown and something about experts. What is that? The experts are a council. Again, made up of the alpha and beta werewolves in a pack. There are 4 packs in this town, one being my father, his beta Tom, another being 𝐊𝐢𝐬's father. Yes, 𝐊𝐢𝐬 is a werewolf. Stone Pack and Crescent Pack is all made up of werewolves. Warren and I are supposed to take over my father's place soon. Weston smiled at me reassuringly. A lockdown is when you are under a spell, keeping you locked from your wolf. That only happens if you break a law in our society. So, do you guys have like any other supernatural powers? We have the ability to persuade a person to do what we want, depending on our rank. For example, if I tell Eli to jump off a bridge, he would. We also have the ability to read the minds of our pack and talk to each other through our link. But I'm not a wolf and you still read my mind and stuff. It came out like a question rather than a statement. About that, Weston began nervously. We have this thing called a mate. A mate is basically a soulmate, but in werewolf terms, we are able to have a link with our mate. Mates could be werewolves or humans. He coughed and rubbed the back off his neck. I just blinked multiple times and looked at him funny. And how would you know that the mate? I found the courage to speak. When you look at them in the E, I and all you see is T, true happiness. But your wolf would want nothing more than to be with T them. Weston stuttered and looked around, avoiding my eyes. So you're E saying in your mate? No, I mean. Yes, I mean. That's what my wolf is saying. Maybe. He rambled. I thought about this for a few moments. This seemed to sink into my brain really and painfully slowly. Then, something clicked. Realization dawned on me. You were the one who bit me about a month ago. I wasn't dreaming. You marked me as your own. I've read enough of this in books to understand. That's why I had feelings about you that I didn't understand. Listen, Danny. So. Anger seeped through me. I was shaking. Now when I was sure my face showed a lot of what I was feeling. You knew how I was feeling and yet you decided to hurt me. You are a jerk. I snapped. Weston flinched and regained his composure. I had to do it for reasons. Okay. I'm willing to make it up to you. No matter how long it's going to take. Danny, it could take 5 years. I'll still be waiting. I'll be waiting until I'm old and shriveled. I'm willing to do this for you. I looked at him. Pure determination was written all over his eyes and his face didn't show any humor. A sign that he wasn't joking around. However, I couldn't let him hurt me anymore. I was done with that. I wiped away a straight air. I scoffed and put on a fake smile. I'd like to see you try. Before I could register what was happening, Weston stalked over to me. He grabbed my face with his hands and crashed his lips on mine. Chapter 10. I stood still, not responding to the kiss. Shock couldn't even explain the situation I was in right now. My eyes almost bulged out of its sockets. Weston's lips were warm against mine. It molded perfectly with my heart-shaped lips. Small tingles made its way from my mouth down to my insides, making me feel complete. It was as if I finally found the missing piece to a puzzle. I felt ecstatic at first, but realization of what a jerk he was made me come to my senses. I pushed him away with my hands and put them on my hips. I glared at him, hoping that daggers came out and stabbed him. You're a pain in the ass. I'm not going to forgive you so easily, I finally said, breaking the awkward silence. Weston stiffened and was about to say something, but I quickly continued, feeling awkward. I think that the matter of the moment is who's trying to kill me. I shuddered at the thought, suddenly feeling very cautious of my surroundings. Who is this silver bullet? I would like to know that myself. Weston's voice dripped with venom. He looked at me. Danny, don't worry. I'll kill the bastard. You can't just walk alone anymore. We need to keep an eye on you. It's not safe. They'll call Jordan. I can't believe him saying this. I'm going to ask for his help. The sincerity of his words made me feel calm. I believed him. It was weird, but I did. Why is this person trying to kill me anyways? And are werewolves even affected by silver bullets? I don't know. Danny, the silver bullet knows something we'd oughtn't before it gets to you. I'm going to kill him. Or her. Silver bullets don't affect us, unless it is shot at our hearts. Otherwise, if it shoots anywhere else, we would feel the pain, but it won't take long to heal. The only thing that can kill us is beheading. Silver touching our hearts in old age. WH. Before I could finish my question, my cell phone rang. I gestured to Weston to wait a moment. Hello, I answered. Danny. Danny, where the hell are you? Darren's worried voice came from the other end. We've been waiting for you for. Darren, calm down. The librarian had a hard time finding the book I was looking for. I lied. Anyways, I'm heading there now. I hung up before he could ask any more questions. I started walking away, but Weston grabbed my arm. Danny, you can't just walk alone. I'll walk you there. Plus, did you forget we're in the middle of the woods? Instead of holding his hand, I held on to the belt loop of his jeans. This bastard is certainly not going to gain satisfaction from me anytime soon. However, I still felt the warmth of his lips on mine. I wanted more. It was as if it sliced my heart open, but not in a painful way, but a nice way. But I couldn't think of that now. All I could think of was who the hell was trying to kill me and why. Weston dropped me off at the corner of the street where 𝐿𝐢𝐬 was at. He didn't want Kelly and Darren to see him. Believe me or not, I thanked Weston for saving my life. Before we parted ways, we exchanged numbers, just in case something happened to me again. Don't tell anyone. Danny, I mean it. Not even your brother. Weston warned. All right. How many times are you going to tell me that? I sighed and walked away, waving goodbye to him. I made my way to Kelly and Darren. I half expected Darren to be pissed off at me, but he was my big brother and always gave in when I started to tear up. Oh my, what happened to you? Kelly asked. Darren stayed quiet and studied me, worry filling his expression. Kelly fixed my hair and her gaze dropped down to my neck. Is that blood? Daniela, what happened? 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝 finally asked and came over to me, inspecting my neck. I tripped on my way back here. I lied. So why is the blood all dried up already? 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝 asked suspiciously. Honey, now is not the time for questions. Let's take her to the hospital. Kelly answered and smacked 𝐊𝐸𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝's shoulder. No, really? I'm fine. You'll just get Aunt Felly to clean this up for me. It's just a couple of scratches and dirt. No harm done, I said, quickly waving off the situation. Okay. 𝐊𝐸𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝. Let's go. And Annie, you better not be lying to me. After Aunt Felly cleaned my wounds and asked multiple questions, I was beginning to get tired. I got the exact expression I thought Aunt Felly would give me. Complete and utter horror. 𝐊𝐸𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝, Kelly, and Aunt Felly asked me questions and I did as Weston told me. To lie to them. I felt bad. Believe me, but I had no other choice. My story was simple. I was running from the library, not wanting 𝐊𝐸𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝 and Kelly to wait for me. I didn't see that there was a bump on the sidewalk and therefore, I tumbled down, hitting a couple of broken beer bottles some drunken men left. Kelly and Aunt Felly believed me, but 𝐊𝐸𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝 did not let me go so quickly. I couldn't believe I was in a situation like this. I couldn't believe I was just thrown into a world I thought only existed in movies and fiction novels. Most certainly, I felt like a heroine, like Bella in Twilight, like Lois Lane in Superman. I sighed and told 𝐊𝐸𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝 and the two ladies that I was going to take a bath and head to bed. Exhaustion took the best out of me. I had a very long night and I couldn't wait to be in my warm, safe bed. I still couldn't shake the feeling that someone wanted to kill me. Who could it possibly be and why would they want to? I haven't done anything bad in the past few weeks I was here. I thought I would gotten a fresh start at finally being normal. Again, normal wouldn't even be found in the descriptions of my personality. I quickly ascended the stairs and went into my huge bedroom. Going into the bathroom, I switched on the light. I turned to the mirror, checking out how horrible I claimed to look. I froze, unable to even make a step. There on my mirror was a paper that was taped to secure its place, written in black Sharpie marker. It read, "Just because you got away tonight, doesn't mean you're safe. Watch your back, Danny. Your precious little boyfriend won't be able to save you for long. Love, the silver bullet." With shaky hands, I tore the paper off from my mirror, crumpling it into a ball and throwing it at the far side of my bathroom. Horror started at the pit of my stomach and started shaking uncontrollably. How did they get into my bathroom? Was this some type of sick joke? My room was locked the whole time I was out. Quickly getting out of the bathroom, I dialed Weston's number. "Danny? What's wrong?" Weston answered the phone quickly. "𝐶𝐸𝐬𝐽, you come here." I stuttered, unable to be calm. I found. Danny. Where you at? Home. Please come. I started tearing up. Please. I'll sneak in through your window. I'll be there in 5. He was joking when he came here in 5 minutes. I quickly opened my window and let Weston in. He was alone though. Followed closely behind him was Jordan Warren. "What did you find?" Weston asked calmly. "A note. It's in the B bathroom," I said, still shaking in fear. Weston walked over to the bathroom while Jordan Warren inspected my room. I started sobbing uncontrollably and Warren glanced at me. He came over to me and hugged me. I cried into his shirt. "Well, find them. Danny," he promised. Before I could say anything else, Weston came out and stared at me and Warren for a while before clearing his throat. I quickly pulled away from Warren, knowing what kind of feelings were going on with Weston at the moment. His face clearly showed it all. After explaining to me what a mate was and how effective it could be, he was afraid to show me how he was feeling. West unclenched and clenched his fists while handing the note over to Warren to read. "I'm going to kill whoever this silver bull is," Weston said, gritting his teeth. Jard seemed lost in thought as he climbed out into the balcony. "Danny, is this your necklace?" he asked, holding up a silver chain that had a dime and encrusted desk hanging from it. No, I calmly answered, knowing I was safe for now. It was beautiful and I stared at it for a long time. I've never seen that necklace before and it did a great job of giving me goosebumps. That necklace looked familiar, Weston said, drifting off into space. His eyebrows knitted together. Obviously, he was trying to recall where he's seen it before. Wes, that's Stace's necklace, Warren finally said after thinking. He blinked a couple of times and repeated, disbelieving lie. That's Stace's necklace. You guys remember Stacy, do you? The mystery unfolds. Chapter 11. I can't believe I was sneaking out. I was one to disobey my mom. Mainly because I was scared of her. 2. I respected her enough to follow her simple rules. No drinking, no sneaking out, no keeping secrets. Looks like I already broke 2 of those rules. I wouldn't have snuck out if I was in this situation. Did this mean Stacy wanted to kill me? The why? Looks like I had to wait and find out. Weston called a last-minute meeting at the pack house with both the Crescent Pack and the Stone Pack, excluding Stacy. I had to come along because Weston feared it was safe to be alone anymore. I gladly took his offer, not wanting someone to come and kill me while I sleep. The pack house was small, but cozy. Warren had told me that it was the place they held meetings at and such. The small fireplace was lit up and warmed up the room to a comfortable state. Warren sat beside me on the couch, while 𝐤𝐼 and Weston had a silent conversation amongst themselves. It was hard to believe that werewolves do exist and that someone was out there to kill me. Specifically, Stacy White. 1 month ago, Jade introduced me to her. She was beautiful beyond belief. She had white blonde, perfectly straight hair and sapphire eyes that screamed friendly and innocent. Well, I counted her as friendly, because she was one of the people who stood up for me while Weston tortured me to no extent. But I guess those are the types of people you just have to look out for. Danny, just clear your head for now. Stacy will be in a heap of trouble once the experts find out, Warren reassured me. Thanks for trying to comfort me, Warren, but I'm sorry to say this, but it's not working. I sighed. I heard distant footsteps and murmuring down the hall. Jade, Eli and Jet strolled in, followed by Abigail, Charles, Alex and Dustin. They had serious expressions dawned on their perfect faces, and they took a quick glance at me before taking their seats on any chair they found in the small room. Weston and 𝐤𝐼 strolled in and remained standing. Okay, so as you all know, Danny is not safe, Weston said, knitting his eyebrows. You're starting the meeting without Stacy. Abigail laughed. I flinched at the mention of her name. Babe, babe. Shess not here. Shess with her mom right now, Eli answered. Don't call her babe, Charles retorted. Why the hell are we having a meeting with the Stone Pack anyways? Jet asked, folding his arms in irritation. Maybe if you shut up you'd find out. Alex growled. Quiet down, 𝐤𝐼 yelled over the bickering. The room fell into an awkward silence. You will listen to West. Everyone in the room nodded at the 2 alphas. They had no choice but to listen and follow orders. I still find that fascinating and quite confusing. Weston cleared his throat. Danny was almost killed tonight. As all of you know, she also received a death threat, and we might think it came from Stacy. The tension in the room just intensified and everyone looked at Weston in disbelief. We found her necklace in Danny's room as evidence, 𝐤𝐼 continued, holding up the necklace. Everyone gasped. But Shess not here, Eli repeated, shaking his head. And why would she want to kill Danny? That's the thing. We think she just made that excuse up so she could make up a plan, Weston said. As for why would she want to kill Danny, I wouldn't know. There is one thing, Dustin said. Everyone in the room whipped their heads to look at him. I, myself, was shocked too. He was hardly the sociable type and didn't like talking in front of a crowd, even this small. Jealousy. I think Dustin may be right. Jade nodded. Weston, you remember how Stacy liked you since the 1st grade, but you never gave her the time of day. She was always mad about that. Warren said, and the next thing that came out from his mouth made me turn as a tomato. And Danny is Weston's mate. It makes perfect sense now. Wait, hold up. Abigail shrieked, holding up her hand for emphasis. You're saying that Stacy is trying to kill Danny because of jealousy. And you're saying that Danny is the jerkface's mate. Exactly, Warren replied. Okay, as much as I would like to keep talking about this, I have to get Danny back into bed, Weston said. Everyone looked at him and gasped, obviously thinking the wrong way. Oh, that's it. Abigail Histon tried to march over to Weston. Charles held her back. Once again. Her face was red and blotchy with anger. Not that way. I yelled in disbelief. Gosh, guys. I have to get back home before my brother finds that I snuck out. I arrived home and snuck into my window. Carefully and quietly, Warren and 𝐤𝐼𝐬 were on patrol tonight, guarding my house from the outside while West unhappily agreed to sleep over with me. Great. I was stuck with stupid. After taking a shower and putting on my pajamas, I climbed into bed. I was so tired. I was about to close my eyes when I heard the bathroom door open. Light spilled out of the bathroom and it was quickly shut off. Sorry, Weston murmured. I looked at him, only to find him in low-hung sweatpants and no shirt. There were little water droplets on his bare chest. He didn't look like a Greek god. But oh my gosh. I groaned and shoved my face into my pillows when I saw him smirk. Let me guess. That's what you wear to sleep, I said. Can't you be sincere like me and wear shirts and shorts? Don't pretend that you don't like it. He joked. So, where do I sleep, sweetheart? On the couch. He was lucky I had a couch in my room. Otherwise, he would have slept on the hard, cold ground. Weston went over to the couch and laid comfortably on it. I was about to close my eyes, but his stupid, irritating voice interrupted me. Can I have some pillows? I groaned and threw a pillow at his head. Ouch. After a moment of silence, he spoke again. I think it would be more comfortable sleeping next to you. I glared at him. Even in the darkness, I could see that annoying smirk on his face. Then, an idea popped into my head. It was my turn to torture him. Nothing sweeter than revenge. Right. I stood up and walked over to the couch slowly. Weston's eyebrows shot up and he squirmed uncomfortably. I climbed on top of him, straddling his waist. I ran my hands up his torso. I smiled in satisfaction when I heard him groan. Danny, what are you doing? I ignored his question and gave his neck a kiss. He shivered. Just the reaction I was looking for. I almost burst out laughing when I felt a bulge in his pants. I looked into his eyes and I was so close to his face. My lips were a hair's breadth away from his. I froze at first, feeling my heartbeat quicken. However, that wasn't my plan. So I smiled sweetly and said, "Payback's a bitch." I hopped off him and started chuckling quietly. "Oh, game on, Saunders," Weston said, completely flustered. I just laughed and rolled my eyes. Game on. Indeed. Chapter 12. I absolutely hate where I ended up. It seems like I'm just a bad luck magnet or a walking disaster. Perhaps in both. I sighed in discomfort as I looked behind me once more. Ever since I found that eerie note in my bathroom, paranoia took the best of me. I had to make sure I wasn't alone most of the time. Even in my own room. If I were alone, I would always have to look behind my back when walking or make sure my curtains were drawn and no one could see inside. Both the Stone Pack and the Crescent Pack has teamed up in an effort to keep me safe and patrol around my house at night. Weston no longer slept on my couch after he claimed I made a move on him. I snorted at that comment and muttered a sarcastic, "Yeah, right." You're probably wondering why I never reported this to the cops. It's very unlikely that a teenage girl runs into a police station saying that a werewolf is assaulting her. You're probably also wondering why we haven't just ratted out Stacy to the experts. Simple. We have no absolute evidence. Besides the necklace, and we have no clue to where she could possibly be right about now. Obviously. Just closer than we think. Relief washed over me when I realized it was just the normal wave of students filing through the entrance. The usual shouting and horseplaying erupted throughout the hallway. I saw that no one gave me suspicious glances or looked suspicious in any way, besides those who had a reason to be, such as the troublemakers or the drug users. I made my way to my locker, twisting the rusty knob that squeaked a little with every turn. I groaned in frustration when it didn't open. I stomped my feet a couple times, like a little child would do, ignoring the amused stares of the people around me. I was already having a bad week. Even the littlest things made me angry. An arm shot out above my shoulder, banging my locker 3 times in a rhythmic pattern. Miraculously, the locker opened slowly, squeaking as it did. I turned around to face 𝐤𝐼𝐬. "Thank you," I simply replied and gave him a small smile. "And good morning." 𝐤𝐼𝐬 leaned against the lockers. He had dark circles underneath his brown eyes, and he had a little stubble on his chin. His shoulders sagged in exhaustion. "Good more," he yawned deeply, rubbed his eyes, and shook his head furiously in an attempt to wake him up. "Good morning, Danny." I sighed and looked down at my white ballet flats. Look. Maybe you guys should stop patrolling now. Nothing bad has happened so far. Plus, I don't want to be a burden or someone you always have to worry about when you have so much other important things to do." "Danny, you aren't a burden," 𝐤𝐼𝐬 replied, defending himself. "There is nothing more important than a best friend's safety. Look. It's our job as werewolves to keep people safe. We're supposed to get used to this anyways. When we take our spots in the expert council, that's all we're going to do." "I know, but..." "No buts. Missy." Just when I was about to reply, the warning bell rang, signaling everyone to their homerooms and first period. I reached up on my tiptoes and kissed 𝐤𝐼𝐬's cheek. "Thank you, 𝐤𝐼𝐬. You're like the brother Ivy always wanted, but you already have a brother." "No buts, mister." I joked and stuck my tongue out at him while shutting my locker. I made my way to Mr. Jenkins's room, taking my usual seat next to Abigail. "Good morning, Dee." She smiled encouragingly at me, telling me all hell will be over soon. "Hey, yes." I sighed. Look, it'll be over soon. Hopefully." I groaned. "I'm sure Weston will keep you safe." I grimaced and let out a laugh. "Sure, and them sure pigs will fly," I said after my laughing fit. "You know you don't believe that. Even after the shit he has put you through. He'll keep you safe. When are you going to stop being in denial?" Suddenly, the door burst open and the Crescent Pack walked in. "Oh, you guys made it on time. Perhaps we should have a party," Mr. Jenkins teased, looking up from the book he was reading. Weston came in last and said, "Don't forget the alcohol." A couple of snickers did from the class. "Speaking of the devil," I muttered and groaned, ignoring Eli and Abigail as bickering again. It quickly ended when Mr. Jenkins told them they would have detention if they don't shut their mouths. I heard that. Weston grunted and sat in his seat. He glared at the board, muttering something incoherently. "Okay, class. We will begin on page 196 in your textbook." I felt something hit the side of my head and land on my desk. My nostrils flared as I took the crumpled piece of paper and opened it up. It didn't take me long to realize Weston's handwriting. "I like what you did with your hair today. Did the washing machine do it? Maybe you should start rend." It read. I knew I looked like crap. My appearance was my biggest priority right now. However, he didn't need to remind me about it. It took me a whole lot of my sanity not to bang my head on my desk. I gripped my pen tighter and scribbled something sarcastic on the note. "How did you know I used the washing machine? Oh, I know you're creepy and all, but you don't have to stalk me," I wrote. I crumpled it back up and threw the wad of paper. However, I have bad aiming. So instead of hitting Weston in the head as I planned, I hit Jet. He looked up from his book, irritation crossing his features. I smiled apologetically at him, while he threw the paper at Weston. Before I knew it, the paper hit me in the head again. I slammed my fist on the desk and grabbed the paper and read it. Did your grandma dress you today? Did your dog dress you today? I replied, throwing the paper at him once again. I almost jumped up and down in success when it hit his nose. Store. Right in the face. That doesn't even make sense. He replied, being you, I wouldn't expect you to figure that out. Genius. You're really stupid. You know, I'm stupid for you, baby. Do realize you called me a genius and stupid. I know that. I'm not stupid. The genius part was me being sarcastic. My eye was twitching when the paper hit me on the head again. I snapped my head at Weston and hoped that daggers shot out of them. He smiled smugly at me, obviously amused at my irritation. Can you stop bothering me, Marshall? I yelled at him from across the room. Stop pretending you don't like it. He smirked, crossing his arms. I don't like it. Genius. Gosh, you're stupider than a tomato. I threw my hands up to show my aggravation. Everyone in the room stopped what they were doing and laughed at us. Is stupider even a word? And a tomato? Seriously. He snickered. Oh, you little BAS, Mr. Marshall, Ms. Saunders. Quiet down now or I will give you both detention, Mr. Jenkins warned. But she started it. Weston looked at our teacher in disbelief, pouting his bottom lip and pointing a finger at me as if he were a little child. I did not start this. You were the one who threw me this stupid paper in the first place. Oh, shut up. You sound like a child. Calm down, Mr. Jenkins tried to say. I sound like a child. By a mirror? Marshall. Weston laughed. You're more stupid than me. I mean, why buy a mirror if you're suggesting I listen to myself? You're just scared to buy a mirror because you'll see a monster on the other side. Kids, if you don't, the only monster I would see is you. Weston retorted. That's enough. Mr. Jenkins boomed. His voice shook the tables and the laughs died down. At that moment, Weston and I just sat there, seething and glaring at each other. Detention after school for both of you. Since you both seem to find note passing hilarious in my class, why don't you share it to all of us? Mr. Jenkins snatched the paper from my desk before I could grab it myself. He opened up the paper and I turned betrayed when he started reading it. I was so embarrassed that I hid my face behind my hands. However, the last thing Weston wrote, the one thing I didn't read before snapping at Weston, made me one angry teenage girl. At least I know that you muttering in your sleep that I'm sexy is definitely not the sarcastic side of you. Babe, Mr. Jenkins, read what Weston wrote. The whole class burst into laughter. Mr. Jenkins tried to contain his strict composure but ended up laughing with everyone. He cleared his throat, while his eyes stared amusingly at the paper. I looked back at Weston to see if he was embarrassed as well, but he just casually leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms. A smirk made his way to his lips as he looked at me. Of course he wasn't embarrassed. He won this one. He got the last word when we were bickering in class and the last word when we were arguing through notes. I was sure steam was blowing out of my ears as Weston pointed a finger to me and threw up one finger and pointed to himself, throwing up two fingers. That only meant one thing. Weston, 2 points. Dammy, 1 point. Oh, game on, Marshall.